Kal Halal, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rukakadesh, Barakatan Akyams, green to all, Joshua. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Okay, family, we're gonna end the night, with Daniel chapter 5. Let's just get edified with it. Belshazzar's feast. Belshazzar, not Belshazzar. Belshazzar was Daniel's sub-name in the Babylonian name, but Belshazzar was the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Now, Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine in the presence of thousands. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the temple of the house of Elohim, which had been in Jerusalem, and the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. Okay. Basically, they took some of the treasures, when they had ransacked the temples of the Israelites, and they drank from the treasures of the most houses, and they praised the gods of gold and silver, which is the sun and the moon, And he had drunken fest with his wives and his concubines and his hierarchy people, In the same hour, in the same hours, the fingers of a man's hand appeared to write and wrote up opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, and the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. The king cried aloud to bring the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, "Whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around his neck, and he shall be the third ruler in the kingdom." Now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing or make known to the king its interpretation. Then King Belshazzar was greatly troubled. His countenance was changed, and his lords were astonished. Basically, what this fucker right here was celebrating, he was having reveries right there with his with the hierarchy of his people, his social people, and his concubines. A hand wrote on the walls, the hand of the Most High, and he brought out his astrologers, his sorcerers, and his soothsayers and all the shit that Babylon has always been about, including this modern day Babylon. And they couldn't decipher writing on the wall, so his bitch ass, because these fools are cowards, man, started trembling. He started getting scared. It says the queen, because of the words of the king and his lord, came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke, saying, "O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts trouble you, nor let your countenance change. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the living Elohim, and in the days of your father light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdoms of the gods, we found in him. The king Nebuchadnezzar, your father, the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. Inasmuch as an excellent spirit, knowledge, understanding, interpreting dreams, solving riddles, and explaining enigmas were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will give the interpretation." Basically, his whore wife tried to calm this punk ass fool down by telling him that his father and his forefather had counted on Daniel to decipher things. So I guess they were calling out for Daniel for interpretations. And that says, next part of this chapter says, the writing on the wall explained. Then Daniel, which is Daniel, was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "Are you that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah, whom my father the king brought from Judah? I have heard of you. The spirit of Elohim is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation. But they could not give the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can give interpretations and explain enigmas. Now if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom." Then basically he's trying to tell Daniel that if he can interpret the writing on the wall, that he would, give him riches and all that shit, man. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing to the king and make known to him the interpretation. Basically, Daniel's like, fuck that, I ain't trying to be no coon, so you can keep your riches, but I'll let you know, because he knew that message came from the Most High. So it says here, the king, the Most High Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty, glory, and honor. And because of the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and language trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished, he executed. Whomever he wished, he kept alive. Whomever he wished, he set up. And whomever he wished, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men. His heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till he knew that the Most High Yahweh Elohim rules in the kingdom of men, and appoints over it whomever he chooses. But you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled yourself, your heart, although you knew all this. you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heavens. They have brought the vessels of his house before you and your lords, your wives, and your concubines have drunk wine from them. And you have praised the gods of silver and gold, bronze and iron, wood and stone, which do not see or hear or know. And the living Elohim, who holds your breath in his hands and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the inscription that was written: Mene Mene Tekel Upsharzern. Okay, so this is this is the interpretation of these words. Mene, Elohim has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom have been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and they clothed Daniel with purple and put a chain and gold around his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Belshazzar falls, it says next. That very night Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Alright, that's the end of the chapter. So basically, when he defiled the Most High's treasures, the Most High, put the writing on the wall, just kind of like now, you could see the writing on the wall that this Babylon was about to be done, and he passed it over to the Persians, because after Babylon came Persia, as the world power, and then it was Greece, and then it was Rome, and now, modern United States and the UN nations, and then after them, it's going to, as soon as this shit's done, it's going to be the righteous kingdom of Yahweh Shai, the Lion of Judah, and the 144, the saints, New Jerusalem, Zion, So, the writing on the wall was deciphered, and it was completed, and what prophesied came to truth for the first Babylon, much less will it happen for this last Babylon, So I hope it was edifying. Stay the course, family, be the full armor of Elohim. Keep his laws, his statutes, and commandments. Rebuke all the wicked things that Lord Yahweh Shai died to clean us of. Do the works of the Spirit. Keep all your, your anointed times and seasons. Honor the Shabbat, the Sabbath. Keep the new moons. Be an Israelite, man, and you will be able to endure the wrath that's coming upon this whole shithole place, because this is just the beginning. And I know I want to say Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Ruach HaKodesh, Shalom.